What's up, everybody? A few of you asked for some help with a build order for the Chinese, so this one's for you. Welcome to the Chinese Fast Castle. I will be doing some other Chinese builds in the future, including a 2TC guide as well as a feudal all-in guide, but here is one to get you started. Now, I just wanted to leave you with a quick disclaimer. This is an advanced build, so it will take some time and practice to build up the muscle memory if you're not already familiar with the Chinese, but that's really what bot matches are for. Drill it over and over until you're comfortable with it, and then take it out onto the ladder. And if you already play the Chinese, then I hope to provide you with some additional insights to add to your arsenal. Now, I will be pausing a few times during the beginning of this guide, as there are some very unintuitive things that you need to understand that are specific to the Chinese that I want to be able to explain. So with that being said, let's get into it. So first, before I even unpause, if you're like me and you like to spam the town center button and then Q for villagers, the Chinese are going to be a little bit different. You're going to spam town center and then you're going to spam E in order to build imperial officials. So you get in, you spam that, you get your imperial officials going, and then you are going to send all of your starting villagers over to wood, so this tree here. You get your scout going, and then you're going to come back to your town center. You're going to cancel that second imperial official and replace it with villagers. Now you will notice I grabbed all of my starting sheep and I moved them away from my town center. This is very important. These villagers are going to gather one full set off of this tree. And then as soon as they start to walk back to the town center, before they drop off, you are going to tell them to build a mill close to the town center. This is important because you want to make sure that all of these sheep are being gathered to the mill. The imperial official that is about to come out in a second is going to supervise that mill, and you want to make sure that you get as much tax gold as you can out of this mill. For some reason, the Chinese villagers will sometimes go to the sheep and then drop off at the town center if the sheep are too close to the town center, even though you're building a mill right here. So you want to get the sheep on the outside of the mill to make sure that that never happens. So you're going to rally to the sheep. The imperial official will come out to the sheep first. You will then see these villagers. I tell them to drop off at the mill. Don't worry, as soon as they build the mill, they're going to drop off all of that wood at the mill. It's just part of the game mechanics. You want to make sure that all of those villagers build this mill and that all of the villagers drop off all the wood that they get. You should have 172 wood at the end of that. You're going to tell one villager to build a village. That means that you have 47 wood left. That is very important. It's very important that you do not build the mill or the village on top of this tree, because this tree you need to come to gather exactly 3 wood at, drop off at your town center, and then you're going to send them out to gold in order to build a mining camp. If you build over this tree, you will have to go chop down a different straggler tree, and you will lose a lot of time. So don't do that. Just make sure wherever the starting tree is, you build away from it. You want your mill and your village to be away from it. So you're going to tell one villager to build that village. You are then going to queue them back to sheep. And as soon as you have 7, the villager as well as the sheep, you're now going to queue to that tree. So this villager is going to come out. You're going to tell the imperial official, press E, then click on the mill. That will cause him to supervise. This will mean that you get increased food gathering speed from this mill, as well as more gold. So I like to select the villager. Down here, it'll tell you how much resources they have. Once he has 3 to 4 wood, you tell him to drop off, and then you tell him to come out to build a mining camp, and then you're going to go ahead and rally your town center to the gold. You are now going to have 7 on food, and then you're going to get 3 on gold, and then after that, you will be rallying back to the sheep. Now, I've talked a little bit about this in my last guide. I like this real simple scouting pattern where I scout half the map. You need to make sure that your scout is back at your town center with sheep at about 2 minutes and 30, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Otherwise, you're going to end up running out of starting sheep, and then you just have very inefficient gathering where you're not going to hit your timings that you want to. So make sure whatever scouting pattern you choose that you have some sheep back at your town center before 2 minutes and 40 seconds so that you don't have idle villagers at home. Now, one thing that you will see routinely is as I'm going back and forth between my scout and my town center, I will click on the mill. The mill tells you how much tax gold it has. You want to make sure that you select your imperial official, press Q, click on the mill. He will then collect the tax, drop it off at the town center, and then you want to press E and send him back, click on the mill again to have him supervise it. You want to drop off manually every time you have 40 gold here. So again, you're sending your sheep back, make sure they're on the outside of the mill, and then you're going to grab one villager, once you have enough to age up, one villager to build your Imperial Academy. That is going to go over here. So far, pretty simple stuff as far as the way that the macro works. You go 7 on sheep, then you go 3 on gold, and then you rally back to sheep. We're going to get 16 on sheep here, so you keep rallying sheep until 16, and then we'll go ahead and get on the wood. Something I can talk about now is how strong the Chinese scout is. This scout has, because of the Tang Dynasty that you start with, 30% increased line of sight, which means it sees more than any other scout in the game. This means you're going to see sheep that the enemy scouts don't. You will also be able to see the enemy scout run into your line of sight, and if you're quick, you can run in the opposite direction and he won't see you, so you get information on where they've scouted, and they have no idea where you've scouted. So naturally, I think I end up getting more than the average number of sheep with Chinese than I do with any other civilization. This is just because of how good the Chinese scout is. As long as you practice your scouting with this, I'm sure that you will find it to be the same for you. So once again, we're waiting until we have 16 on food in order to go onto the wood. You're just going to come back at the mill. Whenever you have about 40, you're going to select your Imperial Official. You're going to press Q on the mill. He will then drop off and go to the TC like he is now. You'll see the 40 gold over his head, and then you can press E and back onto the mill and supervise. We want this Imperial Official to supervise this mill until we have the full 1200 for the age up. The moment that you have your Imperial Academy up, you want to make sure that you start queuing a second Imperial Official. You typically want to build your Barbican after you have 35 gold to build the second Imperial Official. So once you have 235 gold, then you can go ahead and build this Barbican. Just use all 3 gold villagers to build the Barbican wherever you need it to, and then send them back to the gold. And now that you have 16 on food, you're going to go ahead and rally to this tree. Once you have 50 wood from this tree, then you can go ahead and build your lumber camp and rally out to the closer tree line. That's typically what I like to do. This Imperial Official, you're going to have him supervise the mining camp. From here, what you're looking to do, just a little tip, is based on whether what matchup you're in. If you're playing against a super aggressive civilization like the French or Rus that have the ability to produce knights during the feudal age, if you're playing against English with longbows, or if you're playing against maybe like the Gulping Cataphract build from Byzantines, I'm going to give you the secret sauce for how to counter those types of builds. And that is on your gold, on your food, wherever you're most exposed, you want to build a tower. You can build 2, one on the food and one on the gold. And then you want to get the hand cannon slits upgrade. So you may need to gather a little bit of stone early in order to get that out, but that will make it so that knights cannot just walk through your base. They will get obliterated because of the hand cannon slits, as well as the rockets that come out of the town center and the Barbican. That's the one thing that I don't see a lot of people in my rating range do. When I start running at their base with knights, they freak out. Just a tower with hand cannon slits kind of fixes the majority of that problem. So you want to make sure that you are collecting all of this. Once you have exactly 1,200 food, then you're going to take 8 or 9 villagers. You are going to move them over to the gold, You're going to gather the gold that you need. It will only take you maybe 15 to 20 seconds for you to really get the gold that you need. Once this has about 40 gold in it, you can tell this Imperial official to drop off. But in just a couple of seconds here, I will have the gold that I need in order to age up. So you're then going to take 5 villagers. I grab a couple extra. I usually grab like 8 or 9, tell them to age up, and then I move a couple of the other villagers over to food and wood, depending on what I need. But I like to typically use like a 5-5. So leave 5 on gold, leave 5 on the upgrade, and then the rest can go to food and wood. You are going to need a lot of wood to get started once you're aging up to castle, because you want to be able to get a stable out, and you want to be able to get a monastery out so that you can start pumping out lancers to secure the relics, and then your monastery allows you to build monks, which will then go grab the relics. And that is the whole point of getting to Fast Castle very quickly. So the age up here ends up being about 8 minutes and 10 seconds. If you really optimize this build, you can get it down to right about 8 minutes. There is a build that allows you to get castle about a minute faster at 7 minutes, which I'll talk a little bit about in a second. One of the reasons that I like this specific build a lot is because even though it is kind of complex to learn at first, it's very simple in the way that it all plays out and how it transitions into the middle game, allowing you to immediately what you can do is you can take the Imperial official that was on the mining camp, and you can tell him to supervise the stable, and then you're going to pump out 3 or 4 knights, and then you have the ability to build the monastery. Once you have your monastery and your stable, you can then choose how many villagers you want on wood. You're typically going to get something like 15 on wood before that, and then I like to take 5, 6, 7, 8 of them off of wood, depending on what I want to build. If I'm going to build Chukanu or archers or spearmen, I'll leave more on wood. But if I'm just going to be doing like crossbows or lancers, then I will come down to 7, 8, 9 on wood. And then these villagers will be rotating over to berries and finding another food source very shortly after this. So I guess I'll spend a minute now. This really is the end of this build order. From here, you're just going to do standard castle things, grab all of the relics, as many as you can get, build 4 or 5 of the lancers, use them to secure everything, and then go harass with them, and then, you know, get your base defended, get some walls up, secure your next set of resources, whether it's deer, berries out here, second gold, and then play however it is that you like to play in castle. Get up a second town center, get aggressive, get a bunch of military out and go fight, whatever it is that you want to do. This build gets you there very quickly. I did mention earlier that there is a build that allows you to get to castle at about 7 minutes. The one thing about this build that's really convenient is because you're building the Imperial Academy and the Barbican of the Sun, you are going to be in Song Dynasty. And that is very valuable because you get plus 33% villager production speed, which means you are building villagers with this single town center faster than the French do with their natural bonus. And that means that in a 1 TC versus 1 TC situation, you are naturally getting ahead as long as you don't take a whole lot of damage. It also means that once you get up to 2 TC, there is nothing that can really rival your economy. And so it's just very strong to already be in Song Dynasty when you hit castle. You can avoid building the Barbican, building the Imperial Academy altogether. You can just use 1 villager to age up to feudal with the Barbican, and skip this landmark. That will mean that you don't spend the 400 food and 200 gold. It also means that you will have 2 or 3 more villagers on gold for the majority of that time. So you will get to castle faster. The problem that I find is that you then have to backtrack and get the resources to get this building up after the fact, which happens to be in the middle of you making a transition to other food sources and stuff, and it's just a lot more difficult to manage. It's not as clean cut. So I just find that this build is the better way of doing things. So try out both, but I really like this build. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope I gave you, something else that you can add to your play, something that'll help you get a little bit better. I look forward to producing some other guides. I want to make a macro guide, a conceptual macro guide about when to go 1TC or 2TC or feudal all in, or when to fast castle, and just how to think about those decisions, which allows you to more easily pivot between the different things. And then I want to get some other build order guides out for both Chinese as well as quite a few other civilizations. So if that's something you're interested in, please let me know. If you enjoyed this video, give me a like, comment, subscribe if you're looking forward to more content. Outside of that, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thank you.